It's David O'Leary and Sue Tabb from Morning Magic at Magic 106.7, teaming up with Century Bank to support and bring attention to many worthy nonprofit and charitable organizations and foundations in and around the greater Boston area and beyond. And we're pleased to say hi to get to meet and know a little bit about the National Brain Tumor Society with Michael Antonellis, who joins us from the Brain Tumor Society.
Thank you so much. Doing great. Thank you so
Welcome.
much for bringing me in. Really appreciate it.
So talk to us a little bit about the mission and what you guys are looking to do.
So the National Brain Tumor Society is really fiercely committed to finding better treatments and ultimately a cure for brain tumors. And that's anyone who's diagnosed now and also in the future. So what we do is we're involved in a lot of different funding opportunities. We provide grants to researchers trying to find cures, trying to learn more about tumors. We're involved in public policy and advocacy. So we're working with Congress to try to create bills and eventually laws that help the brain tumor community and really help caregivers and patients as well.
So that's the full spectrum. So you guys are looking at making changes and having an impact on all levels, from research and treatment to advocacy, and hopefully eventually finding a cure.
Absolutely. So we're really conveners. We bring some of the top brain tumor researchers and experts together, industry organizations, drug companies, medical institutions, as well as a lot of organizations that are trying to run clinical trials themselves to try to make sure that we could not only find out more about brain tumors, but come up with medicines and new treatments to help patients.
It seems like a field that is, how do I say this? It's relatively recent. I was surprised to see that the two organizations that came together that we now know of as the National Brain Tumor Society was in the 80s. I mean, and of course brain tumors have been around a lot longer than that. We just didn't know very much about them.
That's right, and it's funny because a lot of researchers, they had worked within their own medical institutions or academic institutions, so there were a lot of different silos. And when we came on the scene, we brought these people together. Normally they wouldn't really share data too much. They weren't really good at that, and they weren't really good at collaborating and talking. But when you have so many different people coming together under the National Brain Tumor Society, now you have more people working together, collaborating, because you need that kind of level of people together,
sharing information,
sharing data, and that's how we feel that we can come up with treatments quicker. Also, there's a ton of new innovation and new technology, which is really helping everything move forward. We've seen a lot of momentum and progress.
Yeah, I imagine this is an organization that you don't know anything about it until you need to know something about it. I mean, if you're fortunate enough not to have known somebody or cared for somebody who's had a brain tumor or experience with something like that, that's not on your radar screen.
You know, and that is the case, and we're really trying to create much wider awareness, because the reason is, you know, you never know. Brain tumors, they don't discriminate by age or gender or nationality or region. Unfortunately, anyone can be diagnosed with a brain tumor. There are now 700,000 people diagnosed and living with a brain tumor here in the United States.
Wow.
79,000 will be diagnosed in the coming year, and unfortunately 17,000 people will die each year. Also, brain tumors right now, they are the leading cancer-causing cancer cause of death in kids from 19 years and younger. So there's a real sense of urgency to move very quickly to find new treatments as quickly as possible.
And how are you funded in terms of where is the money coming in, and how do you earmark what goes where?
You know, we have a number of many generous donations from people in the outside world, as you said, David, folks who know someone or is related to someone who has a brain tumor, but also a lot of corporate organizations are incredibly generous. So there are a lot of sponsorship opportunities and true donations. We have 23 different signature events, rides, walks, races. In fact, we have our Boston Brain Tumor Ride coming up, but that's actually coming up on Sunday, May 20th. And it's an opportunity to bring people together to create teams and raise money. We also have a number of community events. So people in their backyards, in their community, they want to start up a bake sale, or they want to start up their own race or run. they can do that as well. So many different revenue and funding opportunities.
It seems like those are good not only to raise money, but they raise awareness about the organization and the issue as well.
And
And
people
then-
have fun. People can get together
They have a
and
blast.
it's community building.
Absolutely, but also it's very helpful for brain tumor patients and their families because they know they're not alone. They're part of an organization, a network of many different people. They can come together, ask questions. One of the most important things that we do is we empower patients and we empower the caregivers so that they know that there are questions that need to be asked. Many times they're very confused. They don't know exactly what to ask their doctors. We help them to empower them, and we also help them to really take charge of their treatments.
I imagine that's tremendously important. It must be a frightening time for a family or an individual, and there's a series of doctors. They don't know who to talk to, and they've got one point of contact or one organization that can kind of lead them down the path toward treatment. You'd mentioned that there's changes and recent advances in this field and in curing and treatment and at least knowing what causes brain tumors. What kinds of things are happening, and what is just ahead? What's on the horizon?
So the mapping of the human genome, very, very important. That's an incredible discovery because now we can really pick apart cancer cells and understand, kind of get under the hood and really understand what makes them tick, but also what are some of the things that are causing this strange growth? Why are these cells multiplying? How do they metastasize? How do they spread so quickly? So if we can find out more about the tumor cells themselves, really understand what is happening within the cell, we can find various biomarkers and ways that we can kind of turn off some of this stuff. For example, there is DNA chromosomes, a special kind, where for some reason in these brain tumors, there is a high concentration of those. Or brain tumors also they're addicted to cholesterol. If we can turn off those processes, then we can try to shrink tumors. There's also a number of different like for example, vaccines that are being created and new medicines. If we can find a medicine, an oral-based medicine that would actually break up the brain tumor, that's kind of where we're going. Trying to use immuno, right? Trying to really focus on having your body break down the tumors itself. How do we get the body to do that in a natural way? Also taking liquid biopsies. So we can actually take fluid from the spine and take a look and find out if there are brain tumor cells in that spinal fluid. And that's a great way to try to early diagnose.
Before the tumor is even detectable?
It's detectable, but it could be small enough where you would be able to fight it and use chemotherapy or, again, new medicines to fight off the tumor.
And have a much better prognosis,
Absolutely,
possibly.
absolutely.
So it sounds like we've made a lot of progress, but there's obviously much more work to be done.
Well, there is, because brain tumors, they change so quickly, and they really do fight against drugs and medicines. It's such a complex environment, a brain tumor. And so every time you think you're making progress, it changes. So there's still a lot of research to be done. That's why we're granting a lot of different money. We've had millions of dollars go to researchers, academic institutions, and medical institutions so that those researchers can really amp up their research to try to find better treatments.
Well, that's fascinating stuff. You can find out more at braintumor.org through research, through advocacy, and it sounds like through treatment and support for those. It sounds like that's how you do your work. We wish you continued success, both in fundraising, passing along the message, and we thank Century Bank for their support of the Brain Tumor Society, the National Brain Tumor Society, and so many other organizations.
And definitely check out braintumor.org as well to get more information about our organization and all the great stuff that we're doing. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity.